Well, hey there, AMP1. I'm Dr. Julie Robinson. I will be your host on this journey through your lab. So I'm going to show you a few things in Canvas, and I will talk to you about a couple of things in the syllabus, but you are responsible for reading the syllabus in its entirety, and if you have any questions, just ask to make sure that you understand everything. And if you hear dogs barking in the background, that's because they're doing construction outside my house, and my dogs bark at every little thing. So let's take a look at the syllabus first. So regardless of whether you take your lab in Keene or Claremont, the explanation of how the lab works is exactly the same. So I happen to be looking at a Claremont syllabus and schedule right now. So first, you have been assigned to a lab group, either A or B, and I've sent that to you in email. It's posted in the announcements, and I opened up the people section in Canvas so that you can just click in there and look really quickly in case you forgot. It's important that you only come to lab when you're assigned to come so that we can make sure we stay in line with the COVID-19 protocols. And the COVID-19 protocols require that you wear a mask while you're on campus and certainly in the labs. So we should have enough equipment for you to work independently, but that doesn't mean that you can't talk to each other and work with each other. We just have to make sure that we stay 6 feet apart. So for our course, you have to have a functional computer for a couple of reasons. One of those is that you'll be doing some online lab work, and the other is that all of the lab practicals will be online. Usually you come to the lab, we set up stations, and you do those in the lab, but to maintain social distancing, we're going to do these online this semester. So we have pretty much 2 types of lab work, and I'm on page 2 of the syllabus here, so you should read that over. So one of those is you come to the lab and you do a lab in the lab. You do the lab exercises on campus. The other part of this is that for AMP1, you'll have a lab kit that gives you some equipment to do a few labs at home, and you'll also have some online lab work as well. And all of that is explained each week in a page on Canvas that's called Lab Resources and Tasks to Complete. That'll tell you what you're doing. It'll give you the objectives for each lab, which are your study guide, and it will lead you to the lab quiz. So you can do the lab quote-unquote quiz. It's really an assignment as many times as you want to or you need to. As long as you earn an 80% or better by the deadline, you'll get full credit for that lab assignment. So you don't have to be perfect, but you have to make a really good effort. I would suggest that you aim for 100% accuracy, and that way you'll know that you understand the concepts in the labs. The lab practicals are going to be administered using Respondus test proctoring software. So that means you have to have a webcam because it'll ask you to do an environmental scan, which means you're going to take your webcam, either like one I have on my laptop or a physical one that you can take off, and then scan your work area. You'll scan the room around you to show that you don't have any books or notes and that you're by yourself because you don't want anyone helping you. And those practicals will actually be open for 2.5 days. And that means that you have to take it within that 2.5 day window. If you need to take your exams or your practicals on campus, that's okay. There's some information in here that tells you who to contact to do that, or, talk to me and talk to your instructor. So in my announcement, I told you that there'd be a secret code in this video that you'll need to do that Respondus practice quiz. And that's because I want to make sure that you actually watch the whole video because there's really important information in here. So I'll give you the secret code in just a little bit. This is where you'll see a summary in the syllabus of when your group comes to lab, and you'll see the schedule of what we're doing. This schedule So this will be mirrored in weekly modules in Canvas. So I'm going to show you what those look like. So when you log into Canvas and click on our class, this is where you'll land all the time. So you can see the syllabus and the schedule. Generally, you just need to go to modules because that's where all of your lab work will be. If you are all meeting online in a particular week, then I will open a Zoom session, open optional, so that you can come in and ask me questions. Your grades are here. The People tab, if you click on that, then click on Groups at the top, and you'll see Lab Group A and B. If you just click on that little arrow right there, it'll open up and show you who's in each lab group so you can find yourself if you happen to forget. There is also some information here from the ACT Center and the library. If you need a tutor, get a tutor early. Tutors usually go pretty quick after the first exam. Don't wait that long. Get one now, and then if you don't need the tutor later, it's easier to give up your tutor than try to find one in the last, say, 2 or 3 weeks of the class. So let's look at the weekly modules. But before we do that, here's the secret code. It's RASTA 042207. That is capital RASTA 042207. That is my cat and her birthday. She is my graduate teaching assistant who's actually sitting right over here. Usually she walks across the desk, but she's not doing that right now, thankfully. So these are the weekly modules in Canvas. So every week you should come here. If you're new to Canvas, check out these guides really quickly. So you'll see the supplemental lab manual. That's basically your study guide for labs. So it'll list objectives for you, and it'll show you some additional resources that you can use to practice for practicals. You don't need to print this yourself unless you lose it. I'll give you a copy of this when I first meet with you in lab. So this is an example for exercise 1. There's a blurb that'll tell you, what are you doing in this lab? And then it'll show you the objectives. So these are what you want to study for the lab practicals. And then in most cases, there's some additional practice here for you. So if it's an online lab, you're required to do these things. If it's where you've come to the lab and I've given you optional practice, it is exactly that, optional practice. But please know this is well curated by me to give you really good practice that I know will help you learn and understand and really ingrain the concepts. Everything in A&P is cumulative. The better you know A&P 1, the more you'll enjoy A&P 2 when we get to things like the cardiovascular system and the urinary system, the respiratory system. But you have to build the blocks in A&P 1 to really enjoy what we can do in A&P 2. So let's go back to those weekly modules one more. And yes, you will need to upload some pictures when you do labs at home. So this is what weeks 1 and 2 would look like. So group A, you're going to come to the lab, and then I've given you some optional practice. Group B, you have some online assignments, and everybody's going to do this Respondus practice quiz. In week 2, we've pretty much just flipped around. So group B, you'd be coming to class and you get this optional practice. Group A, you're doing the online lab work. And you'll notice these deadlines. So you have quite a bit of time to do these labs. I wouldn't suggest you leave it to the last minute, but they're there because of a quirk in Canvas. So I hope that I've given you some good information. You are always welcome to ask me questions anytime. I'm a teacher. I love questions. Ask me anything you want. I mean, the only thing I really can't tell you is what page is that in the book. But other than that, I'm happy to help you. I'm excited to be back in the lab, and I look forward to meeting all of you.